in my opinion, in 2026, if you want to show your editor some love, use timecode. Now, timecode is basically a fancy number that's written to the start of every file. So it allows you to, in post-production, to synchronize the start of every file that is fed from a timecode generator box like the Deity TC1, the Tentacle Sync E, so you don't have to worry about how many clips you're synchronizing. That means you can save on footage when you're shooting because you can stop recording and start recording at will. And you also don't have to worry about getting good scratch audio. You could be in a super loud environment, super far from your subject, and you can synchronize it. I do that all the time. It's wonderful. But one thing that might come up, and the reason I wanted to make this tutorial today, because I've talked about timecode before, is how do you synchronize a Deity product with a Tentacle with a sound devices? Like the Mix Pre 6 actually has a dedicated temperature compensating crystal oscillator in here, a fancy timecode clock. How do you synchronize all those? Because they don't all work in the same application. Today, you're going to learn how to do that. I would suggest if you're starting new, try to stick with one brand. Don't be like me and have Deity and Tentacles. But at some point, you're going to need to cross between different brands. So let's take a look at how that is done. My goal is to take the Deity TC1 here that has a screen on it to be our master. And then the Tentacle Syncs will be slaves. The sound devices will be a slave as well. Now, any of these could be masters. This is just the easiest way I thought we could show to set this up without even touching an iOS app because we got too many apps on our phone as is. So I'm going to click the yellow button on the side here, long press it to start it up. And because this is going to be our master, use the scroll wheel here on the side to change settings. Make sure this is set to master. Click in on it to change settings. If it's jam once and lock or auto jam, make sure it's on master run. And the next setting to pay attention to here is going to be the frame rate. So this is set to 2398. That's what I want. Ideally here, this is all your cameras are going to run 2398. Now, if you got one 2997, things are not going to line up on that first frame. So make sure that everything is set to 2398. The other timecode devices here don't need to be set to that. It's going to get it from this master. But things like your audio recorder, your other cameras, you do need to set this manually in camera so that they all match. Scroll across here and we'll get to the section that's called timecode or TC here. This is where we're going to be able to set up our own punched in version of what is called time of day timecode. So if I click in here and then I say set, I'm going to come across to set, and then I say timecode. This is going to give me the ability to change this from hour 0 to what the actual time is right now. The time is 9:31. So I'm going to come across with the scroll wheel and punch this into 9:31. So it's kind of like setting a one of those alarm clocks or that are always a sort of pain to do. So 9:31, click in, come across, click OK. Now if you go back out, you'll see it's got 9:31, which is approximate time of day timecode, and I didn't have to use an iOS app to get this set this way. By the way, the reason time of day timecode is so nice is someone makes a note that something happened right now at 9:31, you can easily find it in the editing software like DaVinci Resolve. Now, to get the other devices synced to this, just make sure Bluetooth is enabled on all the devices. That's the next little icon across there. Make sure Bluetooth is on. And then if you turn on the other deities, they will sync with Bluetooth to get that 9:31 time code. So I'm just going to power those both on. And these will get jammed as long as you have the second setting not set to master. You want to set the second option next to that lock switch to jam once and lock. We'll do that with both of them. Jam once and lock, okay? And what's going to allow this to do is we come back to the master. Always start with the master. Click in on where it says TC, and we'll say sync. And right now, this is blasting this timecode out over Bluetooth to those other devices. And when they start flashing in green in unison, you should see those are all in sync. So that's easy enough. That's all the same brand. That should be easy, right? Well, it's actually not that difficult to synchronize this master timecode to a Tentacle Sync or the sound devices Mix Pre. So we'll take a look at how we do that next. Now, we don't do this one over Bluetooth because they don't communicate together over Bluetooth, but they do communicate with a simple audio cable. So what you'll do is you'll just take the output. This is just outputting line out timecode right now. We'll just take the audio cable out of here and we'll feed it into the input of the Tentacle Sync E and the Tentacle Track E. The secret to getting these prepared so that they can accept timecode is a short turn on. So right now, it's already on, and you can see it's flashing green. Hopefully you can see that from the overhead camera. So this is generating timecode. If I put this cable in here now, it's not going to take that timecode. You need to turn it off. So it's a long press. Looks like it's 3 seconds or more. There we go. Turn it off. You have to turn it on with a short press to where it's flashing red. So 1, 2, okay, so about 2 seconds. Now it's flashing red. And all I'm doing is plugging this into the audio import, and it's going to go green once it locks onto that new time code that it's fed. So it's getting that 933 time code, and that's it. This is sunk and ready to be used to any camera. Do that with the other, just rinse and repeat. So this one was also on, so I need to turn it off. Long press off to turn it on to give it a new jam. It's flashing red. Stick the audio cable in there. Once it turns green, we've got timecode. You'll see all these should be blinking. Those tentacle syncies are linking together. Now this is a tentacle trackie. It's a timecode generator, but it's special because it's actually an audio recorder, a 32-bit float audio recorder that lasts all day. And so this one is kind of the same idea. You just short press to get that thing turned on. You'll see the lights blink on. And as soon as you feed it timecode, it goes red, blinky, blinky, until it gets a green on this that flashes. Now it's got the time code. So you just hold it in there. You keep the cable in there to get that green, blinky, blinky in sync. And we'll just rinse and repeat with the other one. So just hold down on the side switch. Power's on. Feed it time code from the master, always coming from the master, until you go from red, blinky, blinkies to blinky green. Now that green blink will go away because it's got the time code. It's going to be good all day, where these will continue to flash green. These do have time code that's going to stick all day. It's just, it stops blinking green. Now to get the sound devices set up, I'm going to power it on. And this is important to note that the sound devices mix pre 6 needs to be a version 2. Because it actually has the temperature compensated crystal oscillator that holds timecode all day long. The version 1 does not, but all you'll do once it's turned on, we'll hit this little hamburger menu in the top right, and then click the menu button to get to page 2 of it. And then you click timecode, and before you jam it, you want to set the frame rates to match here. So this is kind of like a camera, you want to set the frame rate right on here. So if it's not 2398, change it there, go back. And then what we're going to do is we're going to jam the timecode from the Deity TC1 by using the audio cable and the aux mic in input on the audio recorder. So it's on the right side there. It's called aux mic in. And then you'll just go, timecode is set to free run. We'll go to jam is the button. And you can see it tells you what the difference is from this timecode compared to the internal clock of here. You just click jam timecode. Jamming, and it's done. And so once that is set, you can see we've got 936, 18, 19. You can unplug this, and because this has a good temperature compensated crystal oscillator in it, say that 10 times fast, it will hold all day long, as long as the batteries are not disconnected. If you have an older model or one that doesn't have that, you would need to have another device that's plugged in all day long. We'll just mention briefly, to get these actually connected to different cameras, I've got 3 different cables for the Sony FX3 over the years. One is by Sony. It has this big chunky thing on it, and it basically, the FX3, FX30 accept timecode over the USB port, so it has metadata. And there's 3 different versions of this. Deity makes one that is like, looks like this, and then the smallest, most elegant one is this little cable here from Tentacle. And so this is the one I use most of the time because it's just a lot less to deal with. And then if your camera does not have a timecode input port via USB or any of the more high-end, form factors, there's some that use like a BNC connector, you can also send timecode out of all of these just over audio, and it will embed it into the audio signal. And then in DaVinci Resolve, all you gotta do is right-click in the media pool, and you can get the audio timecode transferred over to what's called metadata timecode, and it'll work just the same. So you don't need a special camera. As long as you have a mic jack, like an audio input like this, you can get timecode so you can synchronize cameras in post. My name is Chadwick. This channel is mostly about DaVinci Resolve, but because timecode is such a big part of editing, And a lot of us end up with devices from different companies. I wanted to make sure everyone knew how to jam them. So this is hopefully a good resource for that. And because there's so much more to learn, I'll see you in the next video.